Let me provide a quick racial analysis on the Lucy Letby case. Lucy Letby is a nurse in England and has been sentenced to life imprisonment for being responsible for the killing of several babies. I have seen several reportages online, and as usual, white folks always get to be humanized. None of the media agencies in the United Kingdom covering this case have explicitly talked about white privilege and how white privilege played a bigger role in her getting away with killing several babies. Why do I want to emphasize the issue of white privilege? Because when several doctors made complaint about the correlation between her presence and the unexplained death of babies, the hospital administrators and the hospital board members did not do anything about it. This is because whiteness is perceived as good, law-abiding, efficient, kind, and innocent. These are the false ideologies that European ancestors instituted about whiteness, such that when a complaint is lodged because she was a white nurse, oh, she can't be responsible for the death of these babies. Other reporters also mentioned that the several inquiries that were lodged by the hospital team said that, oh, she came from a good family, she seems like a nice person. As a result, those doctors who complained about the correlation between Lucy Letby being the nurse around when babies died were forced to apologize to her. And this is simply a classic case of white privilege. As a black woman, I know well about blackness and how I need to navigate the world. If that was a black nurse on duty and something happened to a baby and a baby died, that black nurse will be interrogated and she will lose her job. But Lucy Letby, who was a white nurse, was not even sacked. She was only transferred to a different department, and then they realized that babies stopped dying. Even with that clear correlation, the hospital administration did not want to accept the fact that she could be responsible. Let me provide this particular life experience to put things into perspective. Again, I was born and raised in Ghana, West Africa. Most Africans do not have an accurate understanding of blackness and black oppression and systemic racism. During my master's program in Canada in 2012, I was a teaching assistant to a second-year sociology course. And that was the first few months of my experience in Canada. I remember that some of the white students were extremely disrespectful. There was one particular white student who would come to the seminars, put his feet on the table, and then when we are having in-class discussions, this white male student would say that the topics that we are discussing, which was part of the course, were not relevant, and that we should focus on hungry, dying children in Africa. Imagine that. When I ended up, reporting some of these incidents to the professor, she looked at me and said, Zita, you are black, you are female. That is why these white students do not respect you. That experience, shaped my understanding of blackness and, of course, white privilege and systemic racism. In my later years, when I worked as a university lecturer for 5 years, similar experience. White students, especially older white students who were in my class, were uncomfortable accepting that I was the professor or the lecturer for that class. Some would contest the grades that I gave them, and at the end of the day, the head of department would tell them that the grades I gave them was too generous because I am a lenient grader. So my point is, as a black woman, I know about blackness. I know what it means to be black. Blackness is always criminalized. We are guilty until we are proven innocent. As a black woman or as a black person, I always have to watch myself and how I navigate. And that is the burden of being black. But white people have the privilege of walking around, existing and living without ever questioning their actions and their existence and how they are perceived, and if people would always associate negative things with their actions. But as usual, we see the UK media humanizing Lucy Letby, giving interviews to her friends who are talking about, oh, she's nice, she's caring, she rescued cats, she's the most warm and soft person ever, trying to humanize her. Even when she has been found guilty and given a life sentence, they are still trying to humanize Lucy Letby, an experience that Black people do not get to have. We are never humanized. We are never given the benefit of the doubt. We are always guilty until we are proven innocent. And so, as a sociologist, I wanted to highlight and emphasize how white privilege was important in allowing Lucy Letby get away with her crime for a considerable period before the law caught up with her. My name is Dr. Zita. I am a sociologist. I am an expert when it comes to race, racism, and race relations. If you're not following, guess what? Hit the follow button.